G'day everyone. A bit abnormal. I'm just going to go through the first few races. They're just so weird that I don't. It's killing me trying to go through these later races, and I just thought I'll go through the early ones, give myself more time to sort of try and find some answers because they're just so weird. And the first few are probably the better to look at anyway. The first couple especially. So. First race, I really want to find this horse, Silent Impact. Actually, we'll talk about it's an 8 metre rail there today, and it should be a 4 or 5. So it should be up on speed, should be a decent advantage. Should be, that 8 metre rail is probably sort of 8 and 12 are the ones where we're talking leader fence, and a pretty solid advantage to be up there, especially when it's dry. So maybe they might get 1 or 2 off in the straight, but it should be a pretty solid advantage to be in the first few there today compared to normal Randwick, especially with the drying conditions, and that's kind of what we're looking at. So the first race is an interesting race. You got these horses, Capital Rain, Quick Tempo, fast horses that have got good winning records. Capital Rain, interestingly, only had the 1 trial back, ran really fast time there. Ran really fast time there. A little bit slowed down late, but wasn't sort of extended. Interesting to see that it's had the one started 1100 metres before and beaten in a 2-year-old race. That was a fairly solid 2-year-old race. They ran good time there. The horse set up a solid tempo. So I'm not saying it's a risk at 1100, but off 1 short trial, and then that was 2-year-old grade up against older horses here or 3-year-olds. This horse should be susceptible at the end of 1100 metres. It's just probably a matter of how strong a bias we're sort of competing against here. If it is a mad leader fence bias, that will help, but I still think there's some quality chasing this horse that it hasn't really encountered before. Like, we're talking looking through its form very quickly. So it beat sort of Kibosh is not a bad horse. Hey Doug, its first start, that was Canberra, came out and got beaten by Overpass, nice horse. Greater Harlem's a nice horse, but beaten comfortably there, 3 lengths. Came back, won at Scone, beat Time to Target Freddie Eddie, then beat Naretvar at Fair Dinkum, then went to Newcastle in a 900 and beat the Neon Knight Akasaki, which is not a bad effort. That's an open 900 metres. Then went and set a fast tempo. He only set a steady tempo and was beaten by Foxfighter Delexio. Capital Rain ran 3rd, but again beaten sort of 2.62. So entitled to have, you say this horse got upside. It's had 6 starts, 4 wins, 2 placings, but certainly looks a little bit tested, thrown in at its maximum looking distance with a big weight up in grade for mine. So even though it's won an open 900 at Newcastle, I think those sort of horses are semi-limited, and these horses have probably got more upside. So the other horse that should be right up there and probably on the inside's Quick Tempo. I'm hoping that Silent Impact ends up outside the leader. There's a chance Spellcatcher comes across and takes that position, but I just hope that sort of Silent Impact to be in those first 3, and I think it's the one that sort of challenges quite strongly the first, and then you've got horses like Subterranean, who's drawn awkwardly, likely to be back on the inside, and a horse like Moradin, who probably at best settles midfield and tries to finish off. I couldn't find Flying Crazy with as much confidence as the market seems to. I really thought that Silent Impact's the one that sort of positions up right behind those, not going to say weak, but fast horses that are queries at the distance and should get first shot at them. So I think Silent Impact clearly the horse to beat in the first. Very short this morning around the $2.40 mark. I expected sort of $3 plus if I wanted to be backing it. But it's probably a horse that I'll be using as a multi-banker sort of thing early in the day and hoping to get away with the first if you sort of got to 2-1 plus. It is a pretty good little race. I just think that it's in the sweet spot of fast horses, Silent Impact, who's a bit of a mix of the two, so a fast horse that can sustain a sprint, and then the horses that are going to be at the back won't be able to reel this horse in, especially with the way the track hopefully plays. So that's race 1. Race 2 is the 2-year-old race. I really like this horse, Emperor. This stable
Thanks.
does tend to
And up it goes. 2 lengths. 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 11 12 13 14 15 16 17 18 19 20 21 22 23 24 25 26 27 28 29 30 31 32 33 34 35 36 37 38 39 40 41 42 43 44 45 46 47 48 49 50 51 52 53 54 55 56 57 58 59 60 61 62 63 64 65 66 67 68 69 70 71 72 73 74 75 76 77 78 79 80 81 82 83 84 85 86 87 88 89 90 91 92 93 94 95 96 97 98 99 100 101 102 103 104 105 106 107 108 109 110 111 112 113 114 115 116 117 118 119 120 121 122 123 124 125 126 127 128 129 130 131 132 133 134 135 136 137 138 139 140 141 142 143 144 145 146 147 1
drive you a little bit crazy. So this was Emperor's first start in a 2-year-old race, in the middle in the blue with the yellow sleeve. So tries to find a position, sort of looks like it's going to be stuck wide, so gets used up here to try and cross into a handier position, and then another horse kicks up inside and another horse kicks up inside. So even though it's been used probably out of the gates, settled, used again, and it's still racing 3 and 4 wide, no cover. And I just like how this horse sticks on. So still in front with 200 to go and bobbing, and it's only the fresh horses on the scene that get past it late, and it's still, you know, relatively strong to the line, even though that was not a race that was looked super strong on paper. I still think the effort was pretty good. Really liked its trial since it's come back. I'll fast forward to the end. So here it sort of sits outside leader, which I like, puts the racer, the trial away, and maintains that to the line. So I like everything about the way that this horse has gone about its work here. I like that it's got a bit of speed. This is the first time it's sort of half to Welton a trial, which is not great. So that's it back on the inside there. So half to Welton and then had to muster, but again picks up quite quickly. So the outside draw will help that. Settles in behind, goes back to the inside, which is notoriously slow ground at Warwick Farm trials, and a little pressure there makes up pretty good ground. I thought it wasn't overly pressured in clearly the worst part of the track in its second trial. So I think this horse is very hard to beat here, but we're running into 2 horses that are Sir Artie.
In the previous.
Have to watch these trials, sorry. A bit long-winded, but have to. They're too strange not to. So draws a wide gate here, not slow out, but sort of loses its way a little bit when tries to ease him behind here and gets a bit detached from the field, gets his head a bit sideways, and you can see he gets his head up and wants to play around and do a few things. Ends up back on the inside, which again is not the greatest place to be here in these Kensington trials, and he's a little bit ridden along, but I like what this horse does late up the inside here if we sort of play from this point. Even though he's under the stick or ridden along, you see there he sort of finds another gear and he starts charging through the line. I think this horse is like really thinking about it. I don't think, you know, the hard riding is what sort of switched him on and made him go there. It was just sort of the penny dropped for a few steps, and he may have just been worried about a lot of things that were going on. He was very new to it. He's taken away from home for another trial. This is 3 or 4 months later. This is nearly 3.5 months after that first trial. So it's been given a break in between. Shows that okay natural speed, just drew a better gate here. Has the blinkers on here, which he has on today at his race start. And I think they go a controlled tempo. It's actually not a solid, it's a pretty solid tempo throughout. So he sat outside leader, and again, when he's given a bit of a rev, changes leg and really lets down nicely. The others behind him are under decent pressure. This one's going okay, but he's looks to have years to come. Very dangerous stable at the moment, the Snowden stable. They're flying. What are they doing? So 27% winners the last 15 days, 25.7%, sorry, last winner 15 days, 9 of their last 35. So they're going very well at the stable when they've only been sort of 11% for the 365-day period. So they've really picked up recently, and expect this horse to run really well from a soft draw, and then the other horse that's dangerous. And there's a big field reduced to a smaller field really hurt this race for mine, or hurt the betting proposition. So this horse ran home in the sort of 3rd fastest last 400, 4th fastest last 200, 9th fastest last 600 of the day here on debut behind, was it Coolangatta? Behind Coolangatta, so not the greatest away, but then is allowed to drift right back in the Cook colours. Second last here, tracks up second widest now coming through. Coolangatta, obviously the Magic Millions winner. This horse is not dynamic but quite strong, and really lengthens late. Certainly the strongest late in the race. Runs 4th, come back and had 2 trials. Probably the most interesting trial is the second trial, where it shows more speed, which is a good sign. So jumps in front. They don't go overly quick here early, but not horribly slow, so I don't think it's completely flattered about where it can settle. Travels quite strongly, and even though it's sort of nudged late, I don't think it's a horse that's always going to try off flashy. I think it's a pretty strong type. So it's dangerous. I think it's very short, $3.30. I've sort of got them all marked around the same price, and I saw that Emperor's sort of $7, and you can get $4.70, and I'm marking $4.75. So I think it's the slight value. If I had to back two in the race, it'd be Emperor and Serati. I am scared of Wild Calm, but I think those two are pretty solid 2-year-old prospects. The Highway I just hate. It's a horrible, horrible race that nothing can win, but I'll have another look at and send through a market for it at worst. Race 3, another race that I thought was diabolically difficult. What have we got? We've got that And We Dance a wee back last start that looked home, very soft tempo, kicked away, and then sort of floundered the last bit. It goes up in distance, which I'm a little bit surprised about, draws soft again and gets its chance in a probably similar race, but shorter odds, and it's not shorter odds, it's similar odds, and I'm just not sure about that extra 100 metres. Surlamer, the stablemate's another one that I'm not sure runs a strong 1600 metres, and it's probably likely to be further back, which is obviously not ideal, and I thought it was probably good a risk too. Finding a winner I thought was impossible. I think it's going to be one of those races where there could be 7 or 8 that look the winner at the 200. The horse that I sort of settled upon as the value runner in the race is a horse called Penso LA. I liked it at Gosford last start, and it pulled up 2 out of 5 lane. Good record at the moment of destroying horses. I saw Midsummer Rain was retired from racing after the other day at Scone when it pulled up in horrible fashion. Sorry, Tamworth. After it pulled up in horrible fashion in what looked a very suitable race. So Penso LA was another victim of my curse a couple of weeks ago. But 16 days, this is 22 days since. Back in distance slightly to the mile, ran really well at the mile, and was benchmark 72 fillies and mares race, which is only a fair race at Warwick Farm. 2 starts back, but I thought it was really building to something good, and last start things just went wrong. So obviously pulling up lane. So I could give this horse another chance. The rider Kathy O'Hara says the pants off me, but I think he'll be getting big odds in what looks a very tricky race. Race 5 is the last race I'll do for this early preview. Very similar to the last one. Cannot find a winner with any confidence. I thought the best 2 targets in the race, if you want to play, are Mr. Bond, who's third up, steps up to 1800 metres, which looks perfect. Drops in grade from an open 78 3-year-old plus back to a midway. And that looks very suitable to my eye. May have been a midway there, I'm not sure, to be honest. I should have checked that, but regardless, it's 1550 up to 1800 far more suitable. Soft draw, rider upgrade, and looks like it can improve here. The other horse I thought that was interesting is Viren. Most of these horses going up in distance, these horses coming back in distance. Thought it was a pretty good effort there last start, did have every chance in the run, but a good gap behind the first 2 runners there, and this horse just should be strong up on speed, and that should be a good combination in this race of a lot of horses that take turns, and they're going okay, they're honest, but they're just all sort of limited and don't really have a turn of speed to put a racer away. So I think this will be a bit of a slog up the straight, and survival of the fittest to a certain degree, and that should hold Viren in good stead with the miles in its legs back in distance. So tough races, the first few. I thought the first 2 races were pretty good races. Silent Impact, the one to beat in the first, and I like Emperor and Serati in race 2. And then it gets very difficult. I'll come back with an update for the later races as soon as I can. Thanks, guys.